Hello and welcome to the September 2019 edition of From the Desk Of. Each month, the Randolph County school system comes before you and shares with you the great things that are happening throughout our school system with our schools, our students, our teachers, and so forth. And so this month we are actually at Archdale Elementary School. We come to you from a different school each month. I'm Tim Moody. I'm the Public Information Officer, and I'm here with our Superintendent, Dr. Stephen Gainey. And before we get into our interview, we're going to have a chance to meet the Archdale principal and learn a little bit about this school. Okay, so again, we are here today at Archdale Elementary School. Archdale Elementary has a new principal, Paula LaPlant. Paula, why don't you take a moment, if you would, and just tell the community a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am beginning my 12th year in Randolph County Schools. I have enjoyed many different opportunities in Randolph County Schools, both as a teacher, a lead teacher, a principal intern, an assistant principal, and now a principal.
Okay, so now Ms. LaPlant, if you would, why don't you tell the community a little bit about this great school?
Currently, Archdale Elementary has 368 students and 52 staff members. Our staff are very dedicated to meeting the needs of every student. We are quite proud of our cultural and linguistic diversity. We enjoy the support of a very active PTO and surrounding community.
Well, great. Well, Ms. LaPlant, thank you so much for letting us visit here today and do this interview. Hope you have a great school year, and best wishes for you and your students and your staff.
Thank you so much.
All right, so thank you again to Paula LaPlant and to her great staff here at Archdale Elementary School. And Dr. Gainey, give us a chance now to talk a little bit about some things that are going on throughout our school district. We had a Board of Education meeting this past Monday evening, and there was an administrative appointment that was announced.
Yes, we named Kathy Brady. She came in, she was named to be a 50% interim assistant principal at Randolph Middle School. And Kathy has a long history with us. She retired a couple years ago. Her last role with our school system was she was the assistant superintendent for human resources. But prior to that, she worked in central office, and she was a very successful principal as well in our school system. So very happy to have her back in an interim role to help us out. We have a vacancy at Randolph Middle School as an assistant principal position, and she's going to help us out for a couple months while we work through that vacancy. So just excited to have Kathy back. She is a first-class quality person and very excellent leader, so she will only be a great help to that school.
Earlier this month, there was a special visit out at Eastern Randolph High School. Congressman Mark Walker made a visit to the school, and let you talk about that.
Well, Tim, a couple months prior, I was in a meeting and I mentioned something to one of his staff members about the new metals manufacturing facility at Eastern Randolph High School that we built a couple years ago with our Golden Leaf money. And I just said, you know, I'd like, if Mr. Walker ever would like to see that, just give me a call. And of course, within a couple of weeks, I got a call, and he did want a tour of that facility. And it was a great event all the way around. I mean, we went to the media center. You were with us. And if you recall, we had student leaders greeted him and led him down to the facility. And then inside the metals manufacturing facility that we built as an addition to Eastern Randolph High School, he was interacting with the students who were operating, showing them how different pieces of machinery worked. And it was just fun to watch. It was fun to watch our kids interact with him and him interact with them. You know, anytime we can put adult leaders around kids, I think it's a win-win for everybody. But I was really proud of our kids and the way they responded to that event. And really, his response to it didn't surprise me, because that's what I've seen. I've seen him, you know, in action, I guess you'd say, and he's always very approachable, has a great presence, and seems very knowledgeable about his role as a leader in this country. And so, wow, to think as a high school student to be able to take a congressman down to a place that you just are thrilled about, being that metals manufacturing classroom, and just show it off and kind of be the authority during that time, because that's what the kids were. They were, you remember, they were on the machines showing them different things. And so it's just exciting, and I just want to say a big thank you to Mark Walker for coming, because that only helps our kids when these adults spend time with them.
Well, speaking of Eastern Randolph High School, they also had a special event last week, as well as Grace Chapel Elementary School commemorated the events of 9/11, and give you a chance to talk about that.
Well, Tim, we do have two annual events every year on 9/11, and one of them is at Grace Chapel, and one of them is Eastern Randolph High School. I've been to the one at Eastern Randolph High School several years in a row now, and I went the other day. And just want to say appreciate the staff members for all their efforts to plan both events, and also the students who are involved. At the Eastern Randolph High School event, we had chorus members, we had band involved, we had dance team members, and the student body. The whole student body was in the stadium throughout that ceremony, and just want to say thank you to the students and all for their great performances and their great attention to the event and respect for the event. And I have been to the Grace Chapel event in the past, and same thing. The kids, they participate and they have a high level of respect for the event, and the staff members are very involved. So just all the way around, both events play a big role on that particular day in our country.
So we had a very special event this past Sunday, and we talked a little bit about this in last month's interview before the event, but we had the event, and I'll give you a chance to do an overview of what that was all about.
Well, Tim, on Sunday, September 15th, we had the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Trinity Middle School, and it was just a fantastic day. It was plenty hot. As I left Ashburn Road towards Trinity, the temperature gauge on my car kept increasing, so I knew it was going to be hot when we got out. But just to see the community members and school system staff that were there, and the commissioners and Board of Education members just smiling. I mean, this has been a project that's been there for a long time, a needed project. I was able to say thank you to the community because they made the Braxton Craven 6th grade center and the 7th and 8th grade Archdale Trinity Middle set up. They made that work for 23 years. That was a temporary solution, July 1, 1996, but they made it work for 23 years. So as I said the other day, this community deserves the new middle school they're getting. They deserve it. They never complained. They deserve what they're getting, which is a fantastic school. It is going to feed Trinity High School, so now Archdale Trinity Middle will feed Wheatmore High School, so that'll kind of realign the community. And we talked about the facility a little bit. It will, it's intended for 750 students capacity and 135,000 square feet. But one thing about it is that there's not a school anywhere in this region of the state like this school. It is a fantastic facility. It's absolutely beautiful. It's going to be a trendsetter for this part of the state. And I think I've mentioned to you, it is the same model as Dixon Middle School in the Onslow County School System, which is in the Jacksonville, North Carolina area. I think that school actually has a Sneads Ferry address. It's a smaller version of that school because that school system built the middle school with the idea of maybe making it a high school one day. So this is going to be a little bit smaller, but it's going to be the same model. And great architect, Smith Senate involved, and then J.M. Thompson Construction Company is the construction company to be involved with it. So this project's in great hands. Marty Trotter, Larry Chilton, Randy Wilson have been leading this thing for months now, and it's time to see it come out of the ground, and we're excited. And I'm just excited about this project for this community. They deserve it, and I can't wait to see the smiles when it starts coming out of the ground.
So Dr. Gainey, Uwharrie Ridge 612, which of course is the only 612 school in our school system, has introduced a very unique program, very few programs like this across the state, and I'm going to give you a chance to talk about that.
Well, this program is another step in that building project or building process for that special project. So we're talking about a brand new facility here in this region, the Archdale Trinity Zone, whereas this is a project using an existing facility. Many people may not know Uwharrie Middle School was grade 6-8 the last time it was a middle school. The May of the last year, I think it was 16-17 year, May of 2017, we had 339 students there, and it was built for 650. So we had some space we could use and get creative. So we've been changing that school to a 612 school gradually. 17-18 we had a grade 9, 18-19 grade 10, this year grade 11, next year will be grade 12. But as we've been doing that and increasing the number of students on campus, we've been inserting some new programs there. Like this is a one-to-one technology school. We've really worked hard at programming there, and now we have a new program we're adding this year, which is a drone program. And we have 10 sophomores involved in the program, 6 juniors involved. Nathan Walker's the teacher. And it's my understanding that it's one of only 17 drone programs in North Carolina. And it's only fitting as we're continuing to grow Uwharrie Ridge 612 as a unique school, a special school with different features. And we have the schools of study there, 3 schools of study. And that's different from other traditional schools. I think it's only fitting that we're putting in a drone program, and it's going to be one more step in making that school continue to grow and attract interest from kids. We're now, as mentioned in May of 2017, we're down to 339 kids. Last time I looked, we're now at 505 kids. So we're getting there, and it's exciting, and just glad for those kids, because this year they're also The juniors are getting access for the first time to the Career and College Promise courses with the community college, and they all told me last year when I'd go out there, I'd see them as sophomores, and they'd say, "Did you know we get access to these programs next year?" Well, I did, but I loved hearing them and hearing the excitement in their voices. So things are really beginning to happen for the high school grade levels there, and this is going to be special. I can't wait to see what this looks like 20 years from now. You know, people they talk about our early college. And our early college is one of the highest performing schools in the state of North Carolina. I don't think anybody has an early college as good as or better than ours. They may have one as good, but not better. But when you talk to the people involved in that project, when it opened in '06, they will tell you it looks a lot different than the '06 version. So Uwharrie Ridge is going to keep developing, and it's going to keep changing, and those changes are going to be for the good of kids. So just very excited to see the drone program go in. There was a big article in the Courier Tribune the other day. You've put it out on social media. So those kids deserve to be showcased. That community deserves the showcasing that school is going to bring them.
And we have a very unique event happening in our county involving the North Carolina Supreme Court, and that has some implications for some of our students, and want to give you a chance to tell our community about that.
Well, we're celebrating the 200th anniversary of the North Carolina Supreme Court. And it is exciting. They're going to actually, on October 1, hold 2 sessions of court in our historic courthouse in Asheboro. And, you know, I've said this before in different times when I've spoken to groups. Whoever did the remodel and refurbishing of that courthouse deserves a medal, because that is a beautiful facility. So I always love going there to meetings, but now we're going to have the Supreme Court holding court there. The day before, on September 30th, some kids from high schools are going to get to interact with the Supreme Court justices. I think it's going to start at Asheboro Library, but then move to the historic courthouse. But again, it goes back to this situation with Mark Walker on September the 6th. And, you know, on the October 1st, there'll be high school kids at the courthouse with me watching these court sessions. But it goes back to Mark Walker's, his efforts to come see our school and interact with our kids. Can you imagine as a high school student having the experience to maybe, you know, somebody's going to get to interact with a congressman one week and a Supreme Court justice another week. And I just say thank you to these adults. I mean, they're in very important roles in this country and in this state, and to take time out of their schedules to spend time with our kids, and if anything, to set the example for our kids of what real leadership is and what being a real public servant is. For them to do that is just a huge example for our kids. And another piece that might be getting missed in all this is during these past 2 weeks or so leading up to last week and then leading up to these court sessions, they're visiting each high school. Sam Irvin and Paul Newby are visiting high schools and having little sessions with the high school students. And I keep hearing about these conversations the kids are having with them. And the interaction is what I've heard so far is just unbelievable. I'm going to try to get by one of those and see them with our kids. But Paul Newby is a Randolph County native, so that makes it even more special for us. But just want to say a big thank you to North Carolina Supreme Court for doing this for our kids and for coming to our county, because we have some special kids here, and we need to keep looking for ways to expose them to greater things in their future, because we've got some kids who will play a big role in this state's leadership and this country's leadership in the future.
So this is actually our first interview since the new school year started, at least for 30 of our schools. Of course, our early college began back on August the 7th. So this seems like an appropriate time to maybe give the community just an update on the first few weeks of school, how things went, and just an overview of some details.
Well, Tim, many people have said they think this may be our smoothest opening. This is my 7th year here. And, you know, I kind of live in the moment with school starting, because, you know, if you go into the first day of school thinking it's only be successful if it's perfect, then I think that's kind of a big wish, because there's so many things go on when school starts that people don't realize, but they also don't realize how much our community helps us. So picture this: we go 2 months and no buses on the road. Parents driving children to school, that's not happening. Student drivers at high school level, that's not happening. And then all of a sudden on August 26th, we crank all that back up like that. We don't crank up one phase at a time, we do them all at once. So we put 160 yellow buses back on the road. We put all the student drivers for 6 traditional high schools back on the road. We put the parents who are driving kids to elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools back on the road. And what I always continue to be very grateful for is that the community around us, they help us. I believe they realize those are some stressful days early on, and they help us. They in some ways give us a pass and say, we're going to stay out of the way a little bit and let them get back in routine. Because, you know, being a high school principal, been a middle school principal and a high school principal, when those student drivers start coming in, you know, early on they're all coming at the same time. And then they start finding their own time frames, and it kind of eases out. Same thing with the parents. Early on, every parent's coming to school at the same time, but over time, it kind of eases down a little bit, and we start getting people in phases in the morning. So it was a very smooth opening. If we go to student numbers, our student numbers are very good. You know, we get a allotment, or the state tells us how many kids they think we're going to have, and their numbers usually very high, or much higher than we really anticipate. So we're looking at data trends on several years back. So bottom line is, this year is the first year that we are right where we expected to be this early. And so I'm very excited about that, because as you know, student numbers drive our resources. We are closer this year than to the state's actual number, but I'm just very excited. The staff works really hard at that, and people don't see this. It starts about February, March every year. By March, we've usually got it kind of laid out with how we're going to allot schools as far as positions based on our projection of student numbers. But then what gets missed in all this is at the school level, once they get the positions, you have data managers and principals who are watching numbers all summer. They're reporting numbers back to us. They're saying, you know, my numbers are going high, I need another position. I'm pretty sure all these numbers are the kids are going to show, or they may call and say, I'm just not seeing my numbers grow, and I don't know if I'm ever going to need this extra position. You might as well pull it back now so we don't have an extra overhiring situation, extra teacher. So it's a real big process that really starts every year in February, and it's not just one group. I mean, some people might say, I hear people talk about it and say, well, yeah, our leadership team does so and so. I hear that in some school systems. That's not how it is here, and that's not how it is in great school systems. Mm-hmm. Great school systems, it's a team effort. It starts with your finance and your HR people and looking at resources, but it has to, the players in the whole process have to be school level people too, and our principals always step up. They step up and they do what's needed. Data managers are involved, other staff members are involved. And here's one for you. We got to about the 6th day, and I'm so proud of the principals, what they do every year looking at this. We got to the 6th day and we saw some schools that were coming in under their numbers. And so we started talking to them about, you know, you need to start thinking about what your reorg plan is going to look like, because on the 10th day we reconcile. You know, if you hadn't made your number, we're going to start looking at pulling positions back, or if you need something more because your numbers have gone high. And those 3 principals, to their credit, said, we've been watching our numbers too. They hadn't changed in 6 days. We're going to move on this now. It's not going to change in 4 days. We've been watching it for 6 days. We'd rather get the kids where they need to be by, you know, maybe having to move some kids around and maybe collapse this class and divide kids up. We'd rather work with our parents now than wait 4 or 5 more days. And to me, that's back to students first in all we do. Right. They had students first in all we do on their mind, those 3 principals, and they were the only ones that had to reorganize once school got started. And I'm so proud of them. And so that's 3, but we have 28 other ones that would do the same thing. If that situation had been on their campus, they would have done the same thing. So when you start talking about students first in all we do, that was a move by 3 principals to make sure the students were first in everything they did. So it's been a great start. You know, when I think about, you know, being the superintendent of the school system, it's really difficult not to have a great start when you've got the 31 principals we have, the 31 assistant principals we have, the almost 1,100 teachers we have, and then support staff. We've got just a little bit more than 2,000 employees total. You know, our bus drivers, you know, I got to go meet with them before school started. They were excited. They were waiting to see the kids come back to the buses. We talked about, you know, how exciting that piece is to see those buses full of kids. Cafeteria staff members, they're excited. We talked about, you know, being nurturing to the kids and giving that positive approach to them, and they get it, you know, and got a chance before school started to talk to the CTE teachers, and same thing. There we are. We're excited. We know we've got things that kids want as far as programs go, and we're going to keep nurturing them and help them learn and grow and shoot for their goals. So it's just been a great all the way since, you know, about middle of August is when school really starts back for me. That's when people start coming back in. Right. And I do want to say a little note about our first year teachers. And I think this has everything to do with our principals and the staffs at school. We continue to get a great group of first year teachers. I get to talk to them every year at the beginning of the year. And teachers they're not going to commit to come to a school system or come to a school unless they're comfortable with the leadership of the school. That's just how it works. You know, people can say it any way they want, but teachers aren't going to do that. Even a first-year teacher who's not as experienced as that veteran teacher, they're not coming unless they feel good about the people they've met at school when they interviewed. And so when I look out that first-year teacher group, every year, that's one of my favorite events to go to when right before school starts. I get to speak to them, get to welcome them, and I get to tell them thank you for joining us. But I look out there and I'm thinking we are continuing to bring in talented people, and it has everything to do with the 31 principals in the school system. And I'm just so proud of them, and because they know how to, when they bring them in for interviews, they know how to make sure they meet other people here, and those kids already feel like they're going to be a part of a team before they ever sign on.
Well, Dr. Gainey, thank you. And thank you again to Paula LaPlant, principal here of this beautiful Archdale Elementary School, and thank you to her staff. Thank you to Randolph Communications, one of our great media partners, for allowing us to be a part of this interview every month. We will see you again in October, and as Dr. Gainey said, students first in all we do.